Hello, and welcome to another WIP Wednesday. Get your beverage, excuse me, get your project, come on in, say hello in the comment section, and let me know what it is that we are doing together today. Am I your crafting buddy, or am I your cleaning buddy? If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for choosing to come back, hang out, spend a little bit of your day with me. And thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel. Hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies. And I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, and completely colorblind. So I mostly knit and crochet by feel. And today, I'm going to be knitting a pumpkin with you. If you join me for Mondays with May this week, I was crocheting a pumpkin with you. And yes, we're still using the brand new Mighty Stitch Super Bulky from Knit Picks and We Crochet. It is 80% acrylic, 20% super wash wool. And if you are familiar with the Knit Picks and We Crochet yarns, yes, Mighty Stitch Super Bulky is a brand new yarn. So you just know I had to get my hands on it, right? And I was like, why not get some for pumpkins? So yes, we're still working with the color Satsuma. And by the way, Mighty Stitch in all three weights is the yarn of the month over at crochet.com, meaning that you can get it in fingering, worsted, and this super bulky right now for 20% off. We love a yarn sale. You know that, right? So anyways, yes, my crochet pumpkin from Mondays with May is done. It's done, but you won't get to see it till finish it Friday, right? I mean, that's show and tell day, right? So, well, I don't know if I can actually say it's done yet because it doesn't have a stem. Okay, it doesn't. Are we gonna give it a stem before Friday? I don't know yet. Are we gonna knit a stem or crochet a stem or just improvise a stem? I don't know yet. We'll have to see what happens when Friday rolls around. So anyway, so I want to talk to y'all about something. I pre-plan my videos a little bit, right? Sometimes I don't, actually. You'd be surprised. Sometimes I don't pre-plan sometimes I'm literally sitting here on the bed doing something and I'm like, ooh, turn on the camera and talk about that. That just came into your head and you don't really have anything for a video for tomorrow or for the next day or for whatever. So I have literally done that before where I've just had thoughts in my head. I was sitting there knitting and I'm like, turn on the camera, make a video, chat about that, right? Other times though, obviously I do have plans, right? And so like I have some pre-recorded videos that are out there that are uploaded that will be good filler videos, but sometimes I plan ahead a little bit. Sometimes I definitely pre-record, got some videos loaded, have videos done a few days ahead of time, try to plan some projects. So definitely I've been thinking about us wanting to do pumpkins together for a while, right? So had to get the Satsuma in the house and all of that. And like I said, with the pumpkins, whether you're knitting or crocheting, you want a nice, you want a dense fabric, right? Because we're going to stuff it. And so we don't want like the stuffing to show through. So like when we were crocheting our pumpkin in the Mighty Stitch, I said, we're going to hook down, right? You can use, these are pumpkins, right? These are pumpkins. We are using the free patterns. I linked them up in the Monday video. I'll try to link them up again for us today in the description box. And they are the free patterns from Knit Picks called Spice and Clove. And those are written for sport weight yarn, the wool, the Andes, but you don't have to use that yarn like we talked about, right? You can use any yarn that you want. So, like I said, with the crochet one, just hook down. So the recommended crochet hook for this yarn is a 9mm, right? And I took it all the way down to a 7mm. So today, when I was planning on my knit pumpkins, they recommend a US size 15 knitting needle for this yarn. And so I think that's a 10. I want to say that I don't use a, size 15 knitting needle very often, but I want to say that's a size 10. So, um, so I was like, US size 15, right? And I was like, so I was looking for a size 13. I thought I'll just go down one size. So I was looking for a 13, which is a 9 millimeter. And yeah, oh, I was shocked. I was shocked. Like, there is a scarcity of 9 millimeters in this house. I'm like, what? Like, what is going on, right? Now, part of that's because I do have a lot of interchangeable knitting needle sets, which, this is not a video about the differences in interchangeable versus fixed needles. I think they both have their place. I am cutting to a point where I want to have more fixed needles. I love my interchangeable sets, okay? I've got wood, like Sunstruck wood interchangeables. I've got another wood set. I've got nickel plated. I've got the reflections. I've got carbons, the carbon fiber. I got all kinds of interchangeable sets. I got some cheap, we'll talk about those, some cheap ones off the Amazon that don't even have a brand, okay? But most of those go from your size 4, right? Your US size 4 or your 3.5 millimeter to your size 11, which is your 8 millimeter. So I looked and I looked and I looked for my 13s for my 9 millimeter, and I was like, what in the world is going on? We don't have 9 millimeter needles around here. So I did decide to go just grab some interchangeables, right? Got a nickel plated interchangeable on here and the Sunstruck wood interchangeable size 11s, which is an 8 millimeter. And so that's actually fine. I think when I look at this now, I'm like, you know what, that's fine. That might even still be a little bit of a loose fabric. I could have gone down to a 7, right? I'd use a 7 millimeter crochet hook on my crochet pumpkins, but guess what? I don't have really 7 millimeter knitting needle. That's like a rare thing. I think 7 millimeter knitting needles are even more rare than 7 millimeter crochet hooks. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, I got more 7 millimeter crochet hooks in this house than I do 7 millimeter knitting needles, and I've been knitting for 16 years and only crocheting for over a year, but not even 2 years. So I'm just saying, I have a lot more knitting needles than I do crochet hooks. And I'm like, this is a stumper, right? And so I'm doing the size 11s, the 8 millis, and that's totally fine. But of course, I was thinking, like, we got to remedy that, right? We have got to remedy that. So we had, before we could even start the video, we had an occasion for shopping. And it happened to be over the weekend, right? When I'm trying to like organize myself. And lo and behold, Webbs loves to do flash sales, which I love a good flash sale. And I do wish I had more time to tell y'all about it, because realistically, this video's for Wednesday. Well, guess what? Wednesday's the 8th and the flash sale's over. It is. The flash sale, I think it ended on the 5th or the 6th, so it's like, so I don't even get to talk about most of the flash sales at Webb's, which is too bad. I mean, but had a shopping occasion before we could make our video. Okay, I'm just telling you. So then I had to go on to Webb's, and that ended up being a really good, except I spent a lot of money. But what's new, right? Every time I go on to Webb's, I'm like, putting everything in my cart, taking stuff out. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So there is another Webb's order coming, and I am glad that I have now got coming to me fixed 9 millis, and a 16-inch fixed, a 24-inch fixed circular, and a 32, I believe. And I got some 7 millis. That's right. I think I got 2 7 millis coming as well. Two fixed circulars and 7 millimeters. So And if you're wondering what in the world a 7mm knitting needle is, that's a 10 3/4, silly. Yeah, I know, right? 10 3/4. Like your regular knitting needle sets do not come with a 10 3/4. That's a specialty thing that you gotta search the internet high and low for. Some of your interchangeable sets don't even come with a 10.5, right? Which is your 6.5, right? Most of your standard crochet hook kits will come with the 6.5 crochet hook, right? Like your K, and then that's the end of the set. Occasionally they'll have that 8mm in there, right? But that's about it. So, and with your standard knitting needle sets, you'll usually get your 10, your 6mm, and then that's it. Some will go to an 11, 8mm. Some will throw in a 10.5 where you get your 6.5mm, but you just don't see a 10 3/4 around very often. Well, Webb's does have them. You can get yourself a 10 3/4, which is a 7mm. So some of those are on the way. And then while we were at Webb's, right? While we were at Webb's, they were having a flash yarns. I'm like, really, Webb's? Really? I can't. Oh, it was awful. It was painful. It took me hours and hours and hours to make up my mind, because I was like, oh, I want that one, and because there were like some really good yarn sales, right? Some really good yarn prices over the weekend, and I was like, I cannot afford all of the yarn that's on sale this weekend that I want to get in the house. And I didn't even order 10 packs of most of the yarns. I was like, nope, just get 6 of those. Just get 6 of those, right? Because I can't, as much as I want to get it all in 10 packs and have a whole variety in the house and make sure it's all the same dye lot. I just can't afford it. I just, yeah. So it took me just hours to make up my mind on what sale yarns I wanted to throw into the pack. I'm like, while we're getting, 9mm, and while we're getting, the 7mm sent across the country, we might as well throw in some sale yarn too. So drama and ordeal before we could even think about like starting our video. Yeah. Really. So I might have to add a new ball of yarn in today too, which I'm a little bit nervous about doing that on camera because I'm not good at that, y'all. I'm not good at that. I'm not good at adding in more yarn. But you know what? I mean, you guys know me. I hope you can see me. I hope you can see me knitting. Sometimes I always worry. I'm like, is the camera up too high? Is it too low? Can they see the knitting? Can they see all of it happening? Can you see the orange? Can you see the pumpkin? I don't know. So I had a shopping occasion before I could make the video. So I am excited about it because I love to order from Webb's, right? You do. And I do get the slowest shipping. Webb's rarely does free shipping. They rarely do. And that's okay. Shipping's expensive, right? Yarn companies can't always. Do I love it when they give us free shipping? Of course I love it when they give. I don't even know how they do it from Knit Picks. My Webb's orders are so big. I'm like, my Knit Picks orders are so big. I'm like, ooh, that's expensive. But I'm always grateful that they do it. But Webb's really doesn't do it. Occasionally they'll do a flash weekend deal where they're like free shipping, right? And you got to order within like 48 hours. But that's rare. And, it's they're shipping across the country and it's pricey for them. So I get it. I totally get it. But that does mean that I'm paying for shipping. So I go with the slowest shipping. I mean, less money on shipping means more yarn. That's the bottom line for me. I'm like, if I can spend less on shipping, I can get more yarn. And you know what? My knitting needles are not going to be here to make pumpkins. And that's okay. Like I said, it worked out fine. These are fine. These knitting needles right here are fine. They're doing the job, right? So we're not going to stress out over that. No way. We got pumpkins to make. So, but one thing I wanted to talk about just real briefly is, I can't decide if I should just add in. I might just add in my new yarn at the end of the row because I don't want it to be like in the middle of the row, maybe. Or maybe we'll just deal with it when we get there. Trying to make an important decision right now with y'all when to add in my yarn when I'm doing it on camera. The Mondays with May video, you could hear my neighbors target shooting like in the background, which is, I grew up in a residential neighborhood. You can see that. Oh, by the way, there's a video from this summer, I think in July, called Walk and Talk at the Parents' House with me, where I'm walking with my white cane. So I grew up in like a residential neighborhood, but it's in a country area. So I think we'll just add, look at that. We'll just add in our new. This is the pumpkin. We'll just use this extra orange for stuffing, right? We'll just use that for stuffing. So I grew up in a rural area, and so a lot of people, even within that area, I'm not a stranger to the sounds of gunshots and gunfire. And out here, it's like the roosters, right? I got neighbors with roosters, neighbors with turkeys, all that kind of a thing. So for me, it's just part of like country life, right? To me, it's part of rural America. You just hear those things. And so, to me, it's not an issue really to have that there. But I hope I can find the end of my yarn here today. That could be awkward and embarrassing. I can't find it. There we go. My goodness. So for me, it's not like a big deal, right, to hear that in the background. But I also know that that can be traumatizing for some people if you have survived some scenarios. People respond differently to traumas, okay, and different situations. And some people have survived shootings and they're not, like I, as a person with a disability who's been heavily involved in the disabled community for most of my life, I have had several friends who have lost their eyesight to gunshot wounds to the head. And so people have different responses to that, right? People have different responses to that. And so some of my friends who've been shot in the head, are not as comfortable around guns anymore. Others of them still are, and it's not a factor. They're not afraid, right? And it doesn't affect them. But I've also worked in mental health, and so I've had clients that have been survivors of school shootings, right? I've had clients in my office I had a client who watched his mom be shot and killed in a drive-by shooting. So I know that people respond in different ways, right, to trauma. So I know that can be traumatizing for some people. So I did put a note in the description box, right? So if you are somebody who is traumatized by the sound of gunshots, that's just something to note, that if you're somebody who is, to check the description box of my videos, and I will do my very best to note that in the description box and just say, there's gunfire in the background of this video, right? And so if that's something that you just can't listen to, that's really traumatizing for you, then that's a video that might not be for you. So I just want to put that out there, that yes, I am aware that some people have survived certain situations. That I did it, you guys. I joined my yarn. So that some people might find that really really traumatizing to hear that kind of noise in the video. So if that's you, just check the description box, right? And I'll try to my very best to note that in there so you can pass on that video. But anyways, I am glad, like if you are a returning viewer, I pre-record a little bit, and I'm really, really glad that I pre-recorded my Mondays with May video, because I'm pretty sure that video, AI, I don't know how much y'all know if you're just viewers of YouTube, but our videos get scanned, and they pretty much, YouTube's responsible for the content, that they allow us to put on their platform. They take stuff down if they don't like it. So pretty sure my video got flagged for the gunfire in the background by the AI before it got uploaded. I'm pretty sure the AI and the computers flagged that. And because it took like 2 days. I was like, There might not be a Mondays with May this week because I got nothing. I guess we would be knitting a pumpkin for Mondays with May, and who knows what we'd be doing today for WIP Wednesday, because that video might have not made it. I was surprised, but it took a couple of days for YouTube to make up its mind on whether or not that video was going to go public and be uploaded for Mondays with May. And I'm pretty sure it's because the computers and the AI. We were talking about AI in the video, and I'm pretty sure the AI picks up on those sounds and was probably sent it to a human for review over there, to get human eyes and ears on it, because they're not going to promote something that could have violence, right, in a video, right? If there's actually visuals of something violent going on in the video with those sounds, that's not something that YouTube would want on their platform. So that was interesting to me, but makes me really, really grateful that at least most of the time I'm organized enough to have a video that, that is like at least the night before. It's rare for me to record the day of, but I do it on occasion. I've done it for certain sales. I have recorded a video that day because the sale just dropped. Sock week, I'm sure there'll be some things like maybe in December, different times, different things where we might do it that day. They might be shorter videos because they take so long. They can still take hours for me to even upload like a 10 or 15 minute video out here. It can still take hours, and so that's part of the reason. Because if you don't know that yet, if you're newer to my channel, which I thank all of my new subscribers, thank you so much. Thank you to all my viewers, but especially to my new subscribers. That I do live in, rural America, as I said, and that means our internet is terrible out here. When they say rural America needs, high-speed internet, that is no joke. Yeah, that is no joke. The internet here is terribly slow. It can take me 12, 14 hours to upload my videos sometimes. It is terrible. And that's on the Verizon Wireless 5G that I pay a lot of money for, and it's terrible. So it's pretty much non-existent out here. But it took 2 days for that video to upload because I'm pretty sure that it got flagged and Google was like taking a visual on it with a human. So I'm really glad that they did choose to post it because, I'm like, we're crocheting pumpkins here, right? That's what we're doing. We're crocheting pumpkins today. So we would probably be knitting pumpkins for Mondays with May. But anyways, I just want to get that out of the way. I want to make sure we got that out of the way, right? So anyways, though, I want to hear about your pumpkins. I want to hear if knitting and crocheting pumpkins gets you in the mood for pumpkin food, pumpkin in the kitchen, all the pumpkin-y stuff. Because I know pumpkin spice is really, really big for a lot of people. And I do eat a little bit of pumpkin stuff. Okay, like I talked that we were going to do some more cooking for Blindness Awareness Month, because October is Blindness Awareness Month. So also just a fair warning for those of you, Thursday, tomorrow, is going to be, we're going to bake some pumpkin bread. So if you don't want to bake pumpkin bread, it's okay. It's totally fine. If you want to watch the video anyways, you can, because yes, we are going to bake pumpkin bread. I like pumpkin bread. So, I like pumpkin bread. We're going to do that. But I don't eat a lot of pumpkin foods. Okay, it's not my favorite. I know some of y'all love pumpkin, and I don't even like pumpkin pie. I know, it's okay. We can still be friends. We can still crack. You know what that means? That means more pumpkin pie for you. Okay, that's what that means. That's all that means. We can still be friends. We can still knit together. We can still crochet together. It just means more. You can have my slice of pumpkin pie. Okay, that's all that means. But I don't like pumpkin pie. I don't eat a lot of pumpkin desserts at all. I love cinnamon though. And so with my pumpkin bread, I just put in extra cinnamon. Love cinnamon, right? Love the smells and the cinnamon and the ginger and the things that often go with. I like the spice of pumpkin spice, okay? But I'm not a huge pumpkin fan. So, but one pumpkin food that I discovered that I actually like, which is unusual, and it's something that most pumpkin fans aren't necessarily crazy about or have even tried is pumpkin soup. Is that not weird? Like, I don't like pumpkin pie. I don't like pumpkin cheesecake, but I like pumpkin soup. Like, weird, right? Weird, right? All y'all are like, she likes pumpkin soup? Probably most of you haven't even eaten pumpkin soup, huh? Have you eaten pumpkin soup before? Let me know. Let me know. So, but as somebody who grew up not liking all the pumpkin things, you want to know how I discovered that I liked pumpkin soup, y'all? So, it's living in Portland. Had my third German Shepherd guide dog, Rosie, and we actually, for the first time, got seated to serve on a jury. I had jury duty, y'all. I had jury duty in downtown Portland with Rosie. I previously usually I get dismissed for jury duty. They don't, which is now I need to be dismissed for jury duty because of where I live. I live miles from a bus stop, right? And for me to even get to a courthouse would be just a massive expense of an Uber. Uber drivers don't even want to come out here, okay? They don't. It's rare. I mean, if I had a job, I could hire somebody and say, okay, I need you to pick me up every Monday through Friday, every day at 7:30 in the morning. You can hire somebody. But if you just need like a random pickup that's not on a schedule, it's going to be harder. Not impossible. My sister gets Ubers from the airport to here. You can get them, but it's incredibly expensive. And just for like a random thing like that, they don't always want to come out here, right? I don't know if I've talked about my sister's Uber driver, one of them who came out here, but a lot of Uber drivers don't even want to come out here. So, it's the thing. So I definitely, like, for me now, jury duty would be a whole ordeal. But I lived in the city. But I lived in Portland. I lived in the Pearl District. I lived right downtown. Had a streetcar stop right at my front door of my building. Okay, I could walk to the court. In fact, one morning I did walk to the courthouse. It was only a couple of miles. The courthouse that I was serving in was only a couple of miles from my apartment. And I walked to the courthouse from one morning. It was like, we actually had a sunny morning, and I walked there, and it was not a big deal. I actually had the time to do it. So, with my guide dog Rosie. So, but I was on a jury, which previously I had jury duty once before with my second guide dog. And one of the attorneys did not want me on the case. I know it's because it was a disability case with UPS, right? Somebody been injured on the job. And I could tell that attorney was looking right at me and my guide dog. And I don't think he knew what to think, but I think he was like, he didn't want me on the case. That was very clear, which is fine. Attorneys get preemptory challenges. He didn't have to have a reason why. It was total. I'm not mad about it. I'm not at all. He had his reasons. So I actually think I have some suspicions about why he felt that way. So anyways, but this was my first time and only time to serve on a jury. And I had Rosie with me, my guide dog. And so, we have a limited time, right, to go out to lunch. And I was unemployed at the time and had very, very little money, and so we weren't going to get paid for jury duty for a while, and I was like, it's all day, right? You're there all day. I had no idea how many days. I ended up only being there for 3.5 days, so all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday, but I didn't know. And so how many days we were going to be there, and I'm thinking, you got to go out to lunch 3, 4, 5 days, and when you're unemployed, going out to lunch 3, 4, 5 days downtown is like, I don't know where the money's coming from for that. And so I was really, really poor at the time. And I was with my fellow jurors, right? And I'm just like, I'm going to hang with them and figure out where to go out to lunch. Plus, I had to take my guide dog out on our lunch breaks. And thankfully, in Portland, there were parks. There was a park, like literally right across the street from the courthouse. There was a park. And so you could go to the park, and there were benches in the park. The benches are usually full of passed out homeless people, but there are benches in the park. So I was there. So I'd take my guide dog out to use the park facilities, but I was like hanging out with the other people on the jury, thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna go to lunch with them, right? And so I took the dog out and went with them, and I'm like, I'm just gonna eat where they eat. They can help me, with the menu, all that, and that was cool. So we decided it wasn't raining. Actually, at that moment, it was in October too, and it wasn't raining. And so there happened to be a food truck at the park, like near the park area. There's a food truck there, and being that it was October, they had pumpkin soup on the menu. It was the special, right? It's October, and people love their pumpkin apparently. And that was the special of the day, was you could get like a little cup of pumpkin soup for really cheap, like a couple of bucks or something. And it was cold out, and we were gonna sit outside and eat our soup. So we were all getting like hot beverages and getting these really cheap cups of soup. So I sat in the park. We ended up sitting on the ground because all the benches were taken over with with homeless people, passed out homeless people. So we ended up sitting on the concrete on the ground, but it was dry. It wasn't raining out. Eating out on some steps. They had like these concrete steps that were there, and so we just sat on the steps and ate our But I was like, I'd never had pumpkin soup before, ever. Didn't like pumpkin pie, don't like the pie, and I'm thinking like, oh man, am I gonna, but I was looking for the cheapest thing to eat that day at the food trucks, and oh my goodness, what do I have here? Let's see, I'm gonna try to fix this stitch. I think I split which is rare. I split my yarn a lot when I crochet. It's very rare for me to split my yarn when I knit, but apparently I'm doing that today. So that is how I discovered that I like pumpkin soup, was I was on jury duty and having to try to figure out how I was gonna afford lunch every day, and pumpkin soup was a specialty, and it was like the cheapest food that I could find, and it was good. I was shocked, and I was pleasantly surprised that guess what, I might like pumpkin pie and pumpkin cheesecake, but I do like pumpkin soup. So there you go. Life on a budget. You learn new things, and there's some fun stuff. I'm just knitting away here, knitting away and chatting, right? That I had Rosie with me, who when you go to the courthouse, right, you got metal detectors, and so we had to go through the metal detectors every morning, and then of course at lunchtime I would take her outside to the park. Very, very grateful that there was literally a park with some trees and some grass right across the street. I'd walk in the park, and could take her out there. It's lovely. It truly was. Not all cities are blessed to have a park that you can walk in with some grass and some trees right outside of the courthouse. But we would have to go in and out through those metal detectors, and it was definitely, it could be an ordeal. Let me tell you, by the end of the week, Rosie was really helping training up all their staff there at the courthouse on how to handle service dogs going through. And then actually I talked to the supervisor, and he's like, no, this is good training for us. He's like, this is fine. This is good. He's like, all my staff's really getting good training now. How to get a service dog, how to get a guide dog through the metal detectors, through the search process, right? And so it's a good thing. It is a good thing. We need to keep our courthouses need to be safe, right? We need to not have weapons in the courthouse. So it's good that I don't mind it at all. I think it's a good thing to have metal, because you know what? Decisions get made in courthouses, and people can get super emotional, right, in court, and so that's not the kind of place where people should be bringing weapons. People can get pretty angry at judges, so they can be targets, and they need to be very wise on in protecting themselves. So that's something that I didn't mind that we had to go through metal detectors at all. It made perfect sense to me. It does to this day. But it was definitely like an ordeal every single day, twice a day. Rosie and I had to navigate the metal detectors and the security team, so they got to know us well. And it was, by the end of the week, it was indeed like no big deal for them. Like, okay, you know, I mean, it was like, it was good. It was good for them, and ended up, it's not a big deal to me. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad. But you know me, I'm asking all my questions, and so I did have to ask. I was like, so what would happen if I was ever on a jury that was sequestered? I'm like, would I be allowed to take my guide dog out or not? Or does somebody else have to do that for me? I'm like, so who's on dog poop duty? That was basically my question. I'm like, if I can't take the dog out, who's on dog poop duty, right? Who takes the dog out? And you know what? They didn't know. They didn't know. Nobody at the courthouse knew what would happen. They're like, you know, we don't know. So, but you know, I have to ask those things. You know, I have to wonder. I'm like, so who walks the dog, right? When a person with a guide dog gets put on a sequestered jury, who takes the dog out? Who does that? Are we allowed to do that? I don't know. I don't know. To this day, I don't know the answer to that. But of course, I had to ask. Of course, I had to wonder. But there's another funny thing, though. With Rosie, I had 3 guide dogs, and by far Rosie was my third, and she was big. She was 75 pounds when I got her. She was 22 months. By the time that she filled out, she was like 85 pounds and 25 inches at the shoulder. She was a really big female German Shepherd. Just beautiful. Just a beautiful dog. And so, but she was really big, 85 pounds and really big. And of course, you know, we had to get her into the jury space, right? Rosie the rock star, had to fit into the jury box with all of us humans. And that's what I called her, Rosie the rock star, because she had the rock star attitude. She was like, yeah, I'm a celebrity. Yeah. Oh, I should have told people, like, if Rosie could have talked, she would have talked like this. Yeah, I know. So, so Rosie had to cram her giant self into the jury space with all of us, and she did it. She was fine. She was used to it. She was very used to fitting into small. She's actually, of all 3 of my dogs, she was my best flyer. Okay, and when you fly with a guide dog, your guide dog goes under the seat in front of you. That's right. So I had to cram an 85-pound German Shepherd under the seat in front of me. And she was a pro at it. She was like a contortionist, okay? That dog could do it. She could do it. She was a contortionist. And so it's a whole other thing, but like when we were flying, I would pop the handle off of her harness to give her the most flexibility. And then I'd tell her to go in ahead of me. I'd say, go. I say, lay down. I say, lay down and crawl. Get on your belly and crawl, right? I'd tell her, go in there. I'd say, sit, lay down, crawl, right? And she would get down on her little belly and turn her little body and crawl in under the seat in front of me and cram her 85-pound self under that seat in front of me. So Rosie could do it. She was definitely a contortionist. And so she could fit herself into small places. But she was on jury duty with me, and so she did cram herself into small places, into the jury box. But she also was Rosie the rock star, and so she'd be crammed in there, and then every time that the jury would get dismissed, like we were sitting there, you know, like right kind of at the end area, so other people who needed to get in and out of the jury space had to wait for us, right? And so every time that we would get dismissed, now you think the jury would just get dismissed at lunchtime, right? Not too big of a deal. But no, juries get dismissed from the room often. Attorneys can ask to have the jury dismissed because they want to, like, you know, present something to the judge, right? To the judge and be like, I don't want this in the case. I don't want this on the record, Your Honor, right? And so all the time, attorneys can ask to have the jury removed from, and so that happened in the court case, right? And, you know, juries, you know, she would give us breaks besides lunchtime because, you know, she knows we're people, and judges are people too, right? Judges got a bathroom too, right? Judges are just people. They gotta, you know, pee, do all the things that we do, right? So, you know, we would get dismissed a lot, right? And so every single time Rosie would come out of that jury box, she'd do, because she was stuck in there, she'd do the full-on dog stretch, like dog yoga, right? Plant the front legs, stretch the back legs out behind her, out at an angle, walk the front legs forward, do the cat stretch, arch her back, right? She would go into full-on doggy yoga every time, not once at lunchtime, every single time we came out of that jury box. It was a production for that dog. She's like, I'll go in there, I'll sleep during court, I'll snore, that's fine. But every single time she came out of it, it was like, oh, I've got to stretch, oh, I've got to arch my back, it was like doggy drama, and everybody waiting behind us just had to wait. And it was kind of awkward for me. It was I'm like, I'm sorry. Doggy yoga. And thankfully we had a really nice judge, a really nice lady who was just like, it's fine, I think we should all do yoga. She's like, let's just all do yoga. Let's just all pause and stretch with the dog, okay? She's like, stretching's good for us. She's like, it's a good reminder, we all need to stretch. So I'm really grateful for that. There's a package delivery, and it's not my web's order. Yeah, it's not my web's order, okay? The web's order is not here yet. I wish it was, but it's not. But there was a package of some kind being delivered today. Like it's an Amazon order. But I was really blessed that I had a very, very nice judge, a very humane, a good judge with a good sense of humor, nice lady, who was super chill and super cool, had a good sense of humor about it, because I was like, this could be really awkward for everybody, because I have a dog that's a total drama queen. Right? And she was just like, no, we should all just do dog yoga. We should all, she's like, it's gonna remind me to stretch in court, right? She's like, I'm gonna take breaks in court now, after you guys aren't here, and be reminded to like stretch in between my breaks, right? So it was fine, but that was just so typical. That was so I had 3 guide dogs, right? 3 of them, beautiful, all of them German Shepherds, all of them beautiful. Got the best stories about all of them. But Rosie by far was the drama queen. They were all drama queens. They're German Shepherds. If you've had a German Shepherd, you know what I'm talking about, okay? If you've ever had a German Shepherd, you know what I'm talking about. They're drama queens. They just are. They're just characters, and they're funny. Like, if you've never had a German Shepherd, you know, don't be misled by stereotypes. I'm not saying that they can't be protective. All of mine were protective. They could be protective. They were territorial of your homes. I'm not saying go up and randomly pet German Shepherds or guide dogs or anybody's dog. Never go up and just randomly pet a dog. Always ask permission, right? Because, you know, some dogs have had bad experiences with people. So I'm not saying that, but the majority of German Shepherds are really goofy. The majority of them are clowns, okay? They're clowns. They're goofy. They're like personality over the top, and all of mine were. And she was a drama queen, and that was just like, she would literally, by the end of jury duty, she would like plant her front legs and literally look over her doggy shoulder, doing her neck stretches, look at all the people, like stretch both sides, look at the people behind her that were waiting to go to the bathroom, right? Like, there are people behind you, Rosie, and they want to use the bathroom, right? And the judge was just like, we'll just add a few more minutes to the break. Don't worry about it. Because I'm like, I'm sorry. I know people have to use the bathroom. And she's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I feel really blessed that because who knows, man? Some judges might be like Krabby McCrabby, right? Like I'm sure that some judges don't have a good sense of humor in their courtroom, right? I mean, the court's a serious place. It's a serious place, and I get it, So, but at the same time, she appreciated it because court is such a serious place, right? Court is serious, and sometimes all kinds of serious things happen, right? You get sent to jail in court, and people get mad when you send them to jail, right? People get fined in court. People can get fined millions of dollars. Guess what? They get mad, right? So it can be definitely a place where people can get really angry. Big life-changing decisions can get made. So it's a serious place, and I know that a lot of times in court, there's not anything to laugh about, right? There's not. Abuse, fraud, horrible things. You usually don't just end up in court because, I mean, you can end up in court for silly stuff without a doubt, but, usually you're there because it's something serious. And so, I know that in some ways Rosie added some levity to the courtroom, which is probably actually kind of a nice change of pace for that judge to have a dramatic dog in the courtroom. That was like, oh, look at all the people behind me. Oh, look. Oh, are you waiting on me? Well, I think I should probably arch my back a little bit here and stretch. It was this whole production. Every single time that we got up to leave the jury box, I was like, every time, Rosie, like, can we just do this at lunchtime? She's like, no, every time. So, yeah, people had a really good sense of humor about it, and I'm grateful for that. I really am. And it really didn't take that long, right? Doggy yoga doesn't actually take that long. It doesn't. It really doesn't. You can do in fact, you can look up, you can just do a 10-minute yoga stretch in the morning. I used to do yoga all the time. And I know that's partially why, Rosie was really into it. Because I used to go to yoga and Pilates twice a week because I was unemployed, right? And so I was in the gym all the time. And so Rosie went to yoga and or Pilates class with me twice a week, where we would do an hour on the floor of yoga and Pilates, right? But at the same time, you can also just do a quick 10-minute, I love yoga, you can just do a quick 10-minute yoga. And really her doggy yoga routine is less than a minute, right? You've seen your dogs and your kids, seconds, right? 20 seconds or something. So it wasn't actually, that big of a deal to delay everybody and, for 20 seconds. It wasn't a big deal. But to me, that 20 seconds or whatever of doggy yoga sometimes felt long. I was like, I'm sorry. Sorry, the dog's got to stretch, y'all. The dog is she'll go into the jury box just fine. She'll curl up in there. She'll take up very little space for an 85-pound dog, right? She'll do it. She'll sleep, She'll snore. She'll moan, which she did. She snored some in the jury, which, was typical. She moaned some. She She did. I'm not gonna lie to you. 8 hours in the courtroom for her was there was a little bit of grumbling. She was she grumbled a little bit. She did. She grumbled. She moaned a little bit. She made some doggy noises a little bit occasionally. But the biggest ordeal that she did, she really was quiet though. The majority of the time in the jury, our jury duty, she slept. That's what guide dogs do, right? They sleep. So for the majority of our time on jury duty, Rosie slept. But once you're done taking your doggy nap in a cramped up little space, you gotta stretch. So so I think that probably that judge is probably still stretching. If she's still working, she's probably still stretching in her breaks. She's like, no, it's gonna remind me to stretch all the time and take breaks and be like, that's important. So she probably left that with that judge, right? Stretch. So, anyways, that, my friends, that's my pumpkin soup story. That is how I got introduced to pumpkin soup. Was that fun jury duty and looking for the cheapest darn thing to eat that day. Yeah, really. Um, so, and also, we were sitting outside on the concrete, and it's probably in the 50s. It wasn't wet, but it's in the 50s, and the concrete was cold. And like we had on our jeans, I had on pants. Y'all, be proud I had pants on that day. Yeah, I know. Remember to wear pants, right? So we were just sitting on the ground, but we weren't, I don't know, maybe there for like 10, 15 minutes, and Rosie was getting cold on the concrete because we lived indoors. I didn't have a yard at all. It's in a tiny 400 square foot room. I'd take her outside a couple times a day to pee, and maybe 3-4 times a day to pee. And so she really wasn't outside much. And I didn't bring an extra coat for her because it was in the 50s. I didn't know we were going to be sitting outside on the concrete eating lunch. And so she got cold too. So then she's trying to crawl up into my lap. So I had to eat pumpkin soup sitting on the concrete with a giant, hairy, cold German Shepherd in my lap, being like, and she wasn't interested in my pumpkin soup at all. That wasn't her deal. She wasn't like trying to get to the pumpkin soup. She wasn't trying anything like that. She just was like cold and tired of sitting on the cold concrete. So she would like try to park her furry self across my lap to keep herself warm while I ate pumpkin soup in the park. So that's my pumpkin adventures. That's my pumpkin stories. How about you, y'all? I think I'm going to be done. I think, let's see how big this, you know what's interesting, this knit pumpkin is really big. I did get the pumpkin done except for the stem, so I'm just telling you, I got that needle through the pumpkin. I'm tempted to do another round with this one. It is 60 stitches across, but boy, that's gonna be a big pumpkin, you guys. It's kind of floppy too. I don't know what the deal is with that right now. Maybe that makes me think I should have gone down one more needle size. This is kind of a floppy pumpkin. What do you think? Should we do another round, or should I start my decreases? That's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to, I can't even remember how many rows I've done with you guys. That's embarrassing. I want to say, I'm trying to find where I stop my shaping on this thing and count my rows up. But these are big stitches, which is definitely going to help me out. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 rows. What do you think, you guys? Should we do like 1 to 2 more rows of this? I'm a little bit like, surprisingly, see, that's what I said too the other day when I was like, knitting takes a lot less yarn than crochet, and it does. Okay, I ended up having a little bit left from my crochet pumpkin. I didn't quite use all 3 skeins. I planned 3 skeins for each. I used about 2.5, and that's because I was worried that I was going to run out of yarn. So I was supposed to do that pumpkin at 60 stitches around, and I didn't. I stopped at 54 because I was very worried. I was very worried I was going to run out of yarn on the crochet pumpkin. So we only did it at 54 stitches. But if you're wanting to make one that's 60 stitches around with the mighty stitch, I can honestly tell you, I don't know if you're going to make it with 3 skeins or not. I have no idea if that, like, what is that, half, or it's probably less than half of a skein that I have left of that third one. So I can't tell you if you can crochet a pumpkin with 3 skeins or not with this mighty stitch. Like I said, it's about 44 yards, and crochet does take more. So I think I might be able to knit this whole pumpkin with the 2, because we just added this second skein in. I'm going to do this round where you do like your increase rounds, right? And then you work like a round that you work, I don't know how many rounds we're going to work even here. Without changing our stitch count. I don't know. I want to say we just did 6, and that we're going to do this one, maybe 7, maybe 8. I don't know. I got no idea how big we're going to make this. I don't want to make it too big in case I do have difficulties getting that needle all the way through to do the wraps, right? If you've made this style of pumpkin, then you know that it takes takes some work. If your pumpkins are really big, like me, right? It takes some work to get that needle through there. It's kind of a challenge. It was a challenge. I'm gonna tell you, I did it on my crochet pumpkin. I did it. But it took some finagling, let me tell you, to get it through the first one. See, which if you can get it through the first wrap, then you can really squish that thing down, right? You can really compress it, and then it's fine. It's totally fine. So you want to know my secret for how I did it the first time? Because I knew, I was like, partially it's not too hard for me to like feel the needle. I'm used to doing stuff by feel, so that doesn't bother me. My big worry is that I'm going to lose the needle inside of the pumpkin, right? It's going to be sealed up really tight and at the end, and then I'm going to lose my needle through there. So what I did is I actually took a crochet hook, like a smaller crochet hook, and took it upside down and took the yarn, the end of the yarn, and hooked it onto the end of the crochet hook, right? And then put it down through the opposite way. So the hook was at the end of the yarn, and then pulled it through on the hook. Yeah, that was my secret. You probably could do it with like a really long, like a upholstery needle or something really long. I can't find a needle that big in this house, so I might have other needles. I don't know if I have anything really, really super long to do that with, but that's one thing to definitely consider if you're like me and you're like pushing the limits of needing giant pumpkins for some reason. I have no idea why I need pumpkins this big. I just thought it would be fun to I got pumpkins now in different sizes of yarn, and I just was like, it'd be fun to try it out, right? It'd be fun to talk about how for certain projects we can change up the yarn, right? Because some people really feel limited by that. Some people do see patterns that say sport weight or fingering weight yarn. I talked about that on Monday, right? And they're like, I can't do it because I can't work with the yarn that fine. And some things really aren't going to work out well if you change up the weight, the yarn. But pumpkins are not one of them, in my opinion. Pumpkins are not one of them. So in my opinion, pumpkins are pretty yarn inclusive. I say if you got the yarn in the house, this isn't necessarily the project that you need to go out and buy new yarn for, unless of course, you want to do it in orange and you're like me and you don't have a lot of orange in the house. But you don't even have to make your pumpkins orange. I want to know what color. Are you making them like green? Are you making them brown? Are you making them yellow? Like yellow and green, like marl pumpkins. I'm definitely like, I wonder if I should have been more adventurous, right, with my pumpkins than just traditional orange. This year, we're doing them traditional orange, but who knows? Who knows how long we'll be here on YouTube crafting. We might have to make pumpkins in different colors in upcoming years. I don't know yet. I have no idea. I can't think that far ahead, to be honest with y'all. So, this is, I just can't. My brain can't plan or think that far ahead. So I'm just going to worry about this year. But I did use it. I mean, if you want to be like me and use it as an excuse to like to get the new yarns, right? I used 2 new yarns. Knit Picks the Brava Baby DK was a new yarn release this summer. So I used it as an excuse to get orange for that. And now I use it as an excuse to get the orange, the Satsumas, right, in the Mighty Stitch, in the super bulky. So, but normally I would not have orange in my stash, just not the color. So, but I like to try out new yarns. I like to try out new yarns anyway. And then on top of that, I'm like, ooh, if you have a YouTube channel, then you should be trying out all the yarns and letting people see them, right? Letting people see them, giving them the report. I like this yarn, by the way. I do. I'm not surprised that I had issues when I splitting with crochet. A little bit surprised that I had one issue there with that one stitch that split when I was knitting, because that's unusual for me. But overall, I'm really, really happy with this yarn. Like I said, the only thing I can say, even now after working with, is that, the skeins are kind of small. When you crochet, they're not going to go very far, but I'm impressed with the distance that I'm getting out of this, right, with the knitting. I am. I'm good with that. So just, if you crochet and you're doing like a blanket, because this could make a nice thick heavy blanket, you're gonna need a lot of yarn. I'm just saying, you're gonna need a lot of yarn. So, but knitting, you'll still need a lot of yarn, but not as much. So, anyways, I think I'm almost done with this. I got just a couple more stitches, and then I think I will stop talking today, because I hope I've entertained you enough though with pumpkin stories and guide dog stories, because hey, it is Blindness Awareness Month, right? So we can talk about silly guide dog stories here. So hope Rosie kept you entertained with all her antics, because let me tell you something, Rosie kept me entertained with her antics every single day. There wasn't a dull day in my life when I had Rosie. Rosie was full of doggy antics, like the yoga thing, every single day. Every day with Rosie, it was something. I'm like, really, Rosie? Really? So she, out of all three of them, had the absolute most character. And it was always something every day with Rosie. So anyways, I am gonna go for now. But here's this, I gotta stop making this pumpkin. This thing is getting out of control. It's like somebody gave my pumpkin a miracle grow or something, right? This thing is huge. OMG. So anyways, I'm gonna go for now, but you know what we have to end with, right? Creativity is for everybody, whether you see or you see like me, which is not in color, not in the daytime. If you had a silly guide dog, creativity is for you. And whether it's knitting or crocheting or sewing or quilting or beading or sculpting or painting or weaving or carving or whatever it is that you do, today is a great day to craft and create. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now.